don't forget, folks, right now you can still get 30% off for the final few days of the year on all the Red Recover wraps. Normally it's 10% with our code Big O. Right now, 30%. So if you're dealing with an old injury, an old surgery, you just had surgery and you have a scar and you want the scar to disappear, redrecover.com. Go to the website. Check out the video blogs. Check out all the regular blogs there. They explain it. We've even got the wraps for your dogs, small dogs, big dogs, for their hips. Redrecover.com, and also great for your workouts. To really maximize your workouts, you can use them before and after to alleviate that soreness and get the blood flow going too at the same time. Good morning, Matt. How are you doing, my friends? I'm sure you're doing better than we are here. I
am good. How are you?
We feel like shit, bro.
It's not good.
I mean, it's like, you got Marino by luck because they picked the 5 other guys. Right. And so Shula had him left over after a bad senior year. And then he goes on to have a Hall of Fame career. And then you go like 20-something years. You can't find a quarterback. You can't pick one. It's really difficult. Kansas City's gone through that hell in the past. And I think you found a guy that can play the game, but you found a guy that unfortunately can't stay healthy. And the worst part about it, Matt, we talked about this before when it happened earlier, 4.81 seconds for that play. And he's not Mahomes. He's not young Russell Wilson. He's not Josh Allen. He's not the guy to play off script. He has to play like Bob Greasy. He has to play like Drew Brees. He has to play like Joe Montana. Make an effing decision or get rid of the ball. Period. Earlier in that game, he held on to the ball in another instance, and he fumbled. Rob Hunt ended up getting it, and he almost could have gotten injured there too because he was kind of twisted up in the way, while he was trying to find the football. And why? Because he was hanging on to the ball. And I think that's the most frustrating part that, we pointed this out last time. Remember, I told you I gave you all the seconds for his hip injury, for his ankle injuries, for the concussion, and now the newest one. And there's no learning, my brother. There's no learning that he doesn't understand who he really is, in other words.
Well, he's a guy who has the double-edged sword of he is willing to take a hit. He's certainly shown toughness in that regard, but he should show less toughness. Like at some point,
show this.
You're right. I mean, the ball, it's a hard thing because in one sense, you're right. You're right. I mean, the ball's got to come out. The ball's got to get out. At the same point, it's hard to get on a guy for trying to extend the play, and knowing that that's his job is to find a way to get the job done. What concerns me right now for him is that hit against the Packers. It wasn't that bad of a hit. Like it really was not. That like when he got hit in Cincinnati, it was a clean hit, but it was a hard hit. I mean, he got leveled.
He got slammed.
Yeah. He got leveled.
That's a normal tackle. In the NFL.
Yes, it is.
That's the tackle that you're supposed to feel 8-10 times in a game, and guess what? That's part of the game, baby. You'll feel it in the morning. We all know that, but you're not supposed to. Here is not where you're supposed to feel it.
I mean that hit against Green Bay was not a hit that normally would concuss somebody. Now, again, his head whipped. I get it. It hit the turf, but like that. If you're a quarterback, that's going to happen. I mean, you're going to get hit like that. Now, I almost wonder seriously, and I'm planning on digging into this week. The holiday's been a little weird, but like, do you remember Mark Kelso of the Bills, safety?
Of course, dude. He had the extra helmet on.
Yeah,
great.
Jesse
he was
Sapolo
the great Gazoo.
had a helmet.
The great Gazoo of the NFL. You know who the great Gazoo is?
Oh God,
from the Flintstones. Remember?
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course. Right. Yes. Thank you. I was thinking of the Jetsons. Yeah. I knew it was wrong. Right. So, but like, I think it was Wallace on the Niners. I said Sapolo originally. It wasn't Sapolo. It was Wallace. Like, these guys had those concussion shells. And it really, like Mark Kelso, I've read, he's talked about it, like really extended his career for quite a long time.
Pickett has it.
I wonder if you're going to get to the point here, like
Kenny has it. And by the way, Kenny Pickett just came back from his second concussion.
Right, he's had 2 this year. Yeah. I mean, I just wonder if you're
Like, why
Miami,
is
do
he
you start
wearing it?
looking at equipment? I mean, do you start looking at Willie Lanier, who had a first ballot Hall of Fame career for the Chiefs as a linebacker in the 60s and 70s. He had that extra little bump on his helmet because he hit head first, and it helped him because he dealt with head injuries early in his career. I wonder if maybe
like
that's a linebacker.
It's like the linebacker that wears that stuff.
Yeah, the neck roll.
Nothing, bro. There's nothing wrong with Marino. Was RoboCop.
Yeah. Right, he wore everything.
I'm serious. I covered Marino's last 5 years. When he would come off the field, brother, and he'd take off his jersey, there was all kinds of flap jackets, rib cage stuff. He had this boot. You know Marino blew his Achilles, right?
Yes, 93.
Did you know that he never fixed it?
No, actually.
Did you know that? Well,
no,
yeah. Once he blew his Achilles, it rolled up to the back of his ankle, and then he chose to. I don't need it, and so he played. So he had a sneaker, but he also had this boot that would go all the way up his calf, and he would wear that for every game because Marino wasn't running around, so he didn't care. He was gonna shuffle a foot or two that way, a foot or two this way, or whatever. But you know what? It's like McDaniel put together a 700 play thing for Tua. They need to put together a 7,000 play of Marino throwing the ball away. Because I watched his whole career, there were at least 7,000 balls that he threw away. There's nothing wrong with throwing it away. There's nothing wrong with having the extra helmet. There's nothing wrong with having the neck thing to protect your head from going back and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with any of this. But I don't know why he has this need to play like some kind of Josh Allen when he's not Josh Allen, bro.
Well, I mean, if I were the Dolphins, I'd be looking into every single thing I possibly could find to try to not eliminate, but to give him the best odds of not getting another concussion. I mean, you're to the point now. I know this is the second time he's in the protocol. I think most people would agree this is the third concussion he's had this year.
Of course.
So, right. So, I don't know, obviously we haven't talked about this.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor, but we've all heard this. You and I have been around this sport a lot. They tell us that every concussion you have comes easier as time goes on.
Yes.
Well, maybe that's why that concussion happened on this kind of a tackle that wasn't really a brutal tackle, but because you've had the 2 prior concussions just within the last couple of months, maybe that's why that concussion happened so easily. If he doesn't have the 2 prior ones, then it doesn't affect him. I don't know, but could that be it, Matt?
I mean, it could be, because you're right. I mean, that is the standard thought, is that if you get a concussion, the second one's easier than the first to get, and the third is easier than the second.
Eric Lindros?
Eric Lindros? Not funny. To him. I was literally just thinking of Eric Lindros as a hockey fan.
Right.
That's exactly, I was thinking about it. Look, you know what? I think I'm of the opinion the Dolphins should shut Tua down for a while. I know that is not maybe what a lot of fans want to hear.
No, that's the responsible thing to do, my brother. You are 1,000% right.
I mean,
you know why? You remember Eric Lindros like I do.
Yes.
Because when you would watch a game and somebody would then smash Eric Lindros against the wall, and by the way, sometimes it wasn't that bad of a smash.
No.
Just like what happened to Tua. This happens all the time in hockey, that you go up against the wall. But every time it would happen to Eric Lindros, we'd all go, "Oh my God, and sure enough, dude, and the concussions kept coming easier and easier for him, for Steve Young, for Luke Kuechly. This is what happens, unfortunately, as they mount. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the suspension that keeps your brain centered gets whacked or something, that
I don't know.
It gets shooken a lot easier or whatever. But from what I've seen from the history of some of these players,
right?
Jordan Reed,
yeah, Unfortunately,
all these guys, man.
Yeah, Austin Collie with the Colts. Yeah, I mean,
dude, great call. I mean, come on, bro. This is like something that happens. It's sad.
And you know what? Look, I get it. I get the fan who says if they sit him down, their season's over. Look, man, if they don't sit him down, his career might be over. Like,
exactly.
You've got to make it. And by the way, like, let's just be real. The Dolphins are not winning the Super Bowl this year. They're a good team. They've made progress. They're not winning the Super Bowl. They're not getting to the Super Bowl, with or without Tua. That all said, the most important thing going forward right now is his brain and his head, because something's not right. I mean, and for the people who are like, well, you know, how many guys have multiple concussions in a year? First of all, not a lot of guys. Okay, there are not a lot of guys who have multiple documented concussions in a year. And I'm not going to get into the whole like how many concussions are.
It's like 5 or 6. There's like 5 or 6 right now besides Tua.
It's not a lot of guys. I mean, when you're talking about over 1,000 players in the league, it's not a lot of guys.
And I don't think any of them had 3.
Right. I don't either. I was just trying to think about that. I don't think so either. Like, there are plenty of quarterbacks in the league right now who have not had one documented concussion in their careers. Okay. Now, you know, obviously what's documented, what's not, fine. But in terms of documented, that's where we're at. I'll also say this for the Dolphins, just to go out to a side real quick. Like, Teddy Bridgewater is one of the best backups in the league. They can go to New England and win the game with Teddy Bridgewater. Like, it's not like they can't win the game. It's not like they can win both.
They can win both, right? Because both offenses aren't anything to be afraid of. Yeah.
Look, they could beat the Pats and the Jets with Tua or Teddy. Okay. Now look, they go to the playoffs and they play the Bengals or the Bills or the Chiefs on the road. They're going to be a big underdog no matter who's playing quarterback. I mean, let's just be honest. So if I'm the Dolphins, I'm playing Teddy Bridgewater the rest of the season. I am. And I am willing, and I am spending the entirety of from now to September trying to figure out the best way to protect Tua. I mean, every part of that, whether it's 100%. What you're talking about, which is getting the ball out faster.
Plus his brain needs the time off.
This isn't an ankle injury.
More than anything else, his brain needs the time off, needs these several months to really recover and get reset. And hopefully his attitude also resets and he learns to get rid of the damn football.
I mean, look, I think if you're the Dolphins, you're spending the offseason not only trying to get him to throw the ball away a little bit more, you're also, like I mean, you're literally, if I'm the Dolphins, I am banging down every door there is about equipment and like, what can we do? Talking with doctors, talking with neurologists. Like, what do you, because this is something that obviously, I mean, I'm not breaking news here. Like, this could derail his career immediately. Like, you need to figure out what's going on. And look, I know there are the people out there who are, or in their, I don't know, 60s and 70s who have watched football forever, who are like, well, you know, there are plenty of guys with concussions in the 70s. Yeah, well, those guys also dealt with the consequences of that. You know, like, do you want him to deal with those consequences? I mean, that was, I think most of those guys would go back and tell you they wish they knew what the hell a concussion was. So you're dealing with 2022. And I think for the Dolphins, like, the other part of this too is, if you go back, and I know people have broken this down, Tua was great early in the game against the Packers. After the hit that everybody thinks is the one that concussed him, he was terrible after that. I mean, he couldn't play. Like, he threw 3 of the worst interceptions you'll ever see after that. So you're not doing yourselves any good by trying to rush the guy out there and play him if he's not ready. I mean, even if you want to disregard his health and you're like, I don't care, I'm a fan. Well, did you enjoy being a fan after that hit? Because he was terrible. So I think that's also got to be factored in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. It's just a sad thing. All right. Jim Harbaugh to the Broncos.
You know, that's out there. That's
and the other thing I saw, whoever gets hired will run football operations. I find that to be a really dumb statement to make.
That's a bad idea.
Right, because only a few guys deserve to run your football. Bad idea. Now, the problem is George Patton has hired a couple of coaches and traded for Russell Wilson.
Right, it's been a disaster.
it's been a disaster.
Well, that
and so I almost feel like, when I'm watching that press conference with the owner and George, and I know George from his days here in Miami, and he says he's going to be involved, but then they're going to give that person the football operations. Well, that doesn't bode well for George Patton's future either, because whoever you hire eventually is going to want to bring in his own personnel guy too, unless George Patton is just going to become his personnel secretary right from the get-go.
Yeah, I don't understand. First of all, I've seen a lot of people say, well, they've got to keep him because he's done a good job with building the roster. Let me ask a serious question. And I'm not trying to run the guy into the ditch here, but how many players on the Broncos right now are Pro Bowl or all pro level players? Patrick Surtain and Justin Simmons. And that's the end of the list. That's the entire list. There's not one of the, they have some other players who are good players, the Cortland Suttons of the world, but nobody's going into a game going, oh my God, how are we going to stop Cortland Sutton? He's fine. He's good. He's a decent player. If he's on the Dolphins, he's a third receiver. He's fine. I don't understand why the Broncos are so hell-bent on keeping him around. But also Harbaugh's been out there. You look at some of the other guys he interviewed, maybe that didn't get jobs last year. Dan Quinn's a guy who a lot of people think is going to get another shot. Is it in Denver? Maybe. My problem with Denver right now is, I think the problem everybody's going to have with Denver, which is, if you're a Harbaugh who's getting paid a fortune to coach at Michigan, you're finally over that Ohio State hurdle, right? You finally started to handle that. You're going to now leave to go coach the Broncos, who are absolutely screwed for the next 3 years if Russell Wilson doesn't become a top 10 quarterback. There's no way around that. If he doesn't rapidly return to who he once was, you're done. I don't care who you are. You could be Vince Lombardi. You're not winning with that team. That team is not good around him. He's terrible. You're in a division with Mahomes and Herbert. I don't get why Harbaugh would go. I get it for a guy like Quinn who says, hey, look, it's a second opportunity. I got to strike while the iron's hot, all that stuff. Jim Harbaugh, why? You could just wait for another job next year or another job.
The only reason I think Jim would leave is because he's on a high now. And, he might go back to the abyss again and start losing to Ohio State a whole bunch of times.
I get it.
And so now he gets to leave on a high note and all that good stuff. But I wouldn't make the move. I got to say, I'm with you on that one.
It's the worst situation in football.
Yeah,
it's the worst. That and the Cardinals. You could, if I'm a coach with any options, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to either one of those two places.
Well, no, and God, and that kid doesn't look like he wants to do whatever the hell he wants to do. That's a real. At least with Russell, it looks like he'll at least try to be coachable. You know what I'm saying? Right. At least he'll try to work with you. But again, have the wheels fallen off? Is he too old already at this point? Because you never know when that's going to happen. Has that happened with Kyler? Oh my God, that I don't know if you're going to be able to reach that. You know what I mean? Because at least Russell brings a level of maturity that you don't see from Kyler. But that is
definitely.
That's a rough situation.
I'll also say too, Denver with Walton owning the team now, they have pockets as deep as the ocean. They will spend money. Bidwell is not exactly known for spending a fortune. Right. So you're walking into a team that, financially, are they going to actually spend the money to win? I have no idea.
Spanos doesn't have the money either.
So you are, and so that's one of the questions you have. So which situation's worse? I don't know. I think they're both terrible. I wouldn't go to either one of these two teams. But with Kyler, it's I'm trying to how I can word this. When he signed that contract this offseason, and then of course it came out a day or two later, this homework clause that everybody went crazy over. I was actually coming back from vacation. I was texting with a whole bunch of people in the league. Have you ever heard of something like this? And the universal, literally every single person that responded to me, no, I've never heard of something like this. I'm not surprised they gave it to Kyler Murray. That was the universal response. Not one person was like, I'm shocked that Kyler Murray had a homework clause in his contract. Nobody, not one person out of probably 20 said anything about like, well, I thought Kyler was a much harder worker than that. It was illuminating to me because I'm not around them every day. And so you text those people who are, in the know, and it was like, not surprised it's in there. Okay. I mean, and now, of course, also he's hurt. So is he, how much of the next year is he going to play with a torn ACL? It's those two situations. If I'm a coach with any options, there's no way I wouldn't go anywhere near him.
No, you're better off going to a place that may have a high draft pick or something.
Yeah.
Go Seattle. If Pete Carroll would leave, like, okay, go to Seattle. They've got Denver's pick, and you could get by with Geno for one more year, develop the young guy, all that, that kind of situation, which obviously I know Pete Carroll's he's probably not going to leave till he's 162. But you would have to go to a place like that. The Denver and the Arizona spots you're buried. You're buried because of those quarterback situations. Speaking of quarterback situations, I know that he still has to do it in the playoffs, but he doesn't necessarily have a lot of those signature moments. Was this weekend a signature moment for Dak Prescott? Because Cowboy fans and others have been wanting to see those clutch moments and all the money. And he's had, by the way, a whole bunch of injuries himself with setbacks. Dude, he made some money throws in that game against a really good team in Philadelphia. Your thoughts on Dak?
I thought that 3rd and 30 to T.Y. Hilton was kind of a play that could maybe jumpstart them going forward. That play happens, and that should never happen. In 3rd and 30, when he throws that ball, there's like 4 defenders there, okay? And makes a great throw. And T.Y. Hilton, who's seemingly ageless, apparently, makes a great catch and so on and so forth. The Cowboys are fascinating for me because I know at least I think I know what the Eagles are. I believe I know what the 49ers are. They're a great team with a quarterback situation they'll have to manage. Minnesota at 12-3 is the most fraudulent 12-win team I've ever seen in my life. If Minnesota,
by the way, all those teams that win those close games and they're winning them all in the regular season, they drop the first win in the postseason.
Yeah, no, it's always the way. I was thinking about this area. I was like, if Minnesota played, I don't know, trying to think of an average, like if they played the Browns in a playoff game, which obviously they would not, but if they did, like, would I feel confident picking Minnesota? And how far down that line, if you power rank the teams, how far do you have to get for you're like, yeah, I'm pretty confident in the Vikings? You have to get pretty good into the 20s, right? Like where you're like, yeah, definitely. But the Cowboys to me, they're such a hard team to gauge because I could absolutely believe that they go to Tampa or Carolina and get beat. Just get 100% see it happening.
Yes.
I could also see them going to Philly and killing Philly. Like they have the biggest.
They have the talent. They have the talent. That's the thing.
They are the NFC's answer to the Chargers, where you don't know week to week. Now, I think they're better than the Chargers, but like they're that same kind of like volatility with those teams where if the Chargers beat somebody 41-6 in a playoff game, I bet I could see that happening. And if they lost by the same score, I could also absolutely see that happening. Dallas could lose in the wild card round, and I wouldn't even flinch. And they could be in the NFC title game at home, and I could see it. Like I go, okay, yeah, they found a way to get it done. I think Dallas and Dak, I think they have to win a game or two in the playoffs this year. Like I feel like you've at least got to win one to feel decent. You really almost got to win two, though. I feel like you've almost got to win 2 games to keep McCarthy's job safe and for people not to be coming for Dak. Because if they beat Tampa or Carolina, I don't think anybody's going to feel like that's a big accomplishment. They've got to beat a Philly or a San Francisco.
What are you talking about, bro? Sam Darnold is headed for the MVP now. Come on.
Sam Darnold is unbelievable. Sam Darnold's like one of those colds you can't get rid of. When you finally like you're over the sneeze and then you start coughing. And then you finally stop coughing and then you have a sinus headache for like 10 days. Sam Darnold is the quarterback equivalent of that. It never stops. Like you're like, yeah, his career's over. They brought in Baker, and then like Baker's terrible, and they cut Baker, and PJ Walker's not the answer. And it's like, hey, Sam Darnold's back. and somehow in control of his playoff destiny. It's incredible.
I got to give him a little love at least, because any of these kind, like Geno Smith, like, dude, you've been through the ringer. You have failed over and over again. You've been ripped left and right and all that. And then you somehow still find the way. Your boy, Rich Gannon, he bounced around in Minnesota and Kansas City, right? For many years. And then he goes to the Raiders and becomes a league MVP. You know what I mean? I admire the shit out of those kind of guys that they don't give up on their dream. They don't give up on themselves and still fight. And I'm not saying that Sam Darnold has turned the corner, but it's kind of cool to watch him play well, at least. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, man, good for you, dude. You fought through all of this crap,
You know what? It's always, there always are examples of guys, and Gannon, I think, is the great one, because he was the guy who bounced around forever and became an MVP of the league. Like, he became one of the best quarterbacks in football for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, man.
By the way,
Priest Holmes, by the way.
Yeah.
Priest Holmes.
Yeah. Let me tell you something about Rich Gannon.
He was a little bit of a backup for a couple of years, and then boom, his career hit.
Well, let me tell you something. Rich Gannon, one of the great what ifs of my childhood, would have made my childhood better, because he was on the 97 Chiefs and they were 6-3, and Elvis Gerbach stunk and he got hurt. And Gannon won the last 7 games, and they were a much better offense with him. And God rest his soul, love him to death. But Marty Schottenheimer, and he even admitted after, it was the biggest mistake of his career. He started Gerbach against Denver, and the Chiefs held Denver to 14 points and scored 10. And they put Gannon in like the last, actually they never put Gannon. Excuse me, they never put him in. And then he moved on to the Raiders and became an MVP.
By the way, during that streak, didn't Gannon have like a touchdown run of like 70 or 80 yards or something like that?
No, that was that of all people, you're thinking of Steve Bono.
It was Steve Bono, yes. It was Bono, yes.
Buddy Ryan blitzed all 11 guys on a quarterback. Well, he thought it was going to be a quarterback sneak, and he ran a bootleg, and there was nobody left. He just ran 75 yards down the sideline. It's one of the great pieces of video of all time. If your viewers want to laugh, go look it up. It's on YouTube. Steve Bono's 75-yard touchdown. It's great because it's one of the rare plays you'll ever see a guy run 75 yards, and there's literally no one else in the picture. Just Buddy Ryan, man, loved the blitz. But Rich Gannon. Oh God, it's still to this day it haunts my.
Rich Cannon Gannon is.
That's right.
That was
he could run. He could move.
Gannon. Huh?
He would have been great today because of all the ability to move.
Yeah, dude.
He would have been.
Yeah, he was a good athlete. Gannon. That's the thing.
He was great. Can you imagine Randall Cunningham now?
Yeah. With the right coaches.
Right. Yeah, of course. But like
the right coach.
With the way that he played, it was so unorthodox then, but now he would be unbelievable.
I was told that the Baltimore coach that was there with him. Come on, man, help me. Billick, Brian Billick.
Oh, sure.
I was told that the way he had that great year was they'd get him to the line right away. The huddle wouldn't take very long. They'd go to the line right away because the mic would be cut off at the 15-second mark.
Yep.
So Billick would look at the lineup and tell Randall where he thinks he already should go pre-snap. So it's one of those things that he helped Randall pre-snap. That's something that Randall didn't really do.
Right, because he was a coordinator for the Vikings in
exactly.
98.
Right. Yeah. And so he was a coordinator. And so I'm told that that's the story behind it. I asked Billick once, but no, Randall had a great year, this and that, or whatever. And I'm like, okay, this guy just wants to yank my chain and doesn't want to say that, it doesn't want to take credit for doing it. But I heard that was kind of, now it did help that they had, my God.
Randy Moss and Chris Carter. Yeah.
And Jake Reed.
Right.
You know what
I
mean?
Right. We had Robert Smith in the back.
And Jim Kleinsasser was a pretty good tight end, fullback, H-back, all-around type, and big target too. You know what I mean? So they had the longest targets in the history of mankind with Carter, Reed, and Moss. Oh my God.
And on that fast turf in the Metrodome. I remember as a kid, I was 10. I was born in 88. Yeah, I was 10. I was watching that Vikings Falcons NFC title game, and just like I didn't care about either team growing up a Chiefs fan, but I knew Denver was going to be in the Super Bowl, and I was like, God, I hope the Vikings win because I can't take Denver win another Super Bowl. And watching that like Chris Chandler led Falcons team, I remember just being like, oh God, they're going to get killed.
Yeah.
I just know Denver's got a second Super Bowl because they're not even going to compete in this game, and they didn't.
No.
Yeah, Minnesota, my God, a tortured sports town for sure. The poor Vikings fans.
By the way, Chris Chandler, another guy that was a decent quarterback,
Yep,
also had a lot of injury history too, in his career also, and might have, how, Matt, how it is. A lot of these guys, unfortunately, this is the thing that Tua also has to learn why he needs to get rid of the ball as we bring it full circle here. The more injuries you suffer, the lesser of a player you become. And that's the one thing that it happens to all athletes. Now you can, the brain trauma, okay, you can get away with that, recover from that, and you're fine. But you start breaking limbs and ligaments and bones and all that stuff and dislocating stuff, Humpty Dumpty's not put back the same again. And you just lose more and more. And that happened to Chris Chandler. As he got more and more injuries, he became lesser and lesser of a player. When he first got into the league, he was looked at as a guy that could be molded into an elite quarterback. But as the years went on, the wear and tear, forget about it. He just, and it takes a toll on you also, your confidence too. I think a lot of those injuries too, it takes a toll on you.
No, I think it's also, from a team standpoint, it's really hard to evaluate a guy and feel confident about giving him a long-term deal. Like, you're the Dolphins right now. You're thrilled with the way Tua has progressed this season. But, do you go into this offseason feeling like extension? I mean, I don't know.
You ruined that already. Yeah,
you can't.
No.
I mean, I feel like, that's the other part of this. And I'm actually literally in the middle of writing a piece for tomorrow about Lamar Jackson. But, like, now you have 2 years in a row of these injuries, the lower part of your body. You're a running quarterback. And I talked to a lot of people for the story inside the league. And like, there are some people who are absolutely like, you cannot give him a long-term deal right now. I mean, that's reality. And I know a lot of people don't like it's almost like this Twitter hive of like a mentality of like, you can't hold it against them. Bro, this is the NFL. These teams hold everything against you if it means saving $1. Like, right. They're not going to give you a huge contract if they're worried that you're not going to live up to it. They're not. And so that's another part of this.
All right, we're 5 weeks away. We'll wrap it up with this. Let's see how objective you're going to be on this. Although I think you might be in the mix. Chiefs, Bills, or Bengals? Who are the two that end up in the AFC Championship game 5 weeks from now?
I've been asked some variation of this a lot lately. I would put it this way with these teams, and I'll give you the actual answer. I think Cincinnati is the most consistent team in the AFC. I think they're the most consistent. Week in, week out, although they almost like came to New England. But typically, you know what you're getting from them.
But 7 in a row is 7 in a row,
yeah,
bro.
And
by the way, just survive in this league. I don't care about your style points.
Just win the game. Just win, don't get hurt, and move on. Buffalo, I think, is the most well-rounded of the three teams. Although Von Miller being out is a big deal. And then Kansas City, I think Kansas City is probably the highest ceiling of the three teams. Like, if all three teams just play their absolute best game, I think the Chiefs are the best team. But the Chiefs also have these games where they turn the ball over 4 times. That all said, I would take the Bengals and the Chiefs in the AFC title game. If one of them's the 1 seed. If not, then I would give you Buffalo and Cincinnati. Because the Chiefs cannot beat the Bengals. They just flat out cannot beat them. I am going to pick the Bengals if they play the Chiefs. Because the Chiefs have just shown no ability. Can't beat them. They've lost 3 games in a row to them.
What is it you see that they have their number?
Because the Bengals play very clean football games. They do not typically turn the ball over. The Chiefs, 2 things. The Chiefs turn the ball over a lot. That is number 1. Number 2, the Bengals are very good defensively at giving the Chiefs a lot of looks, and they beg the Chiefs to run the football. And the Chiefs do not want to play that way. By the way, it's why I think the Bengals are going to win this weekend, because the Chiefs and the Bills are the same team. I think the Chiefs are a tick better than them without Miller. If Miller was there, I think the Bills are better. But I think the Chiefs and the Bills are the same team. They want to play a certain way. They will turn the ball over. They're very much about they play entirely through their quarterback. The Bengals are willing to just say, hey, look, we're not going to turn it over. We're going to get you to turn it over once or twice. We're not going to let you, I guarantee you in this game, they will do everything imaginable to take Diggs out of this game. And they will tell the Bills, if you are willing to run the ball with Devin Singletary, you win. And I bet you any amount of money, the Bills in this game are going to run Singletary like 12 times for 65 yards. And then they're going to get really impatient with it. And they're just going to start throwing the football. And Allen will throw a pick. As good as he is, it's the same thing that happens to Mahomes against Cincinnati. So I will say that I think the Chiefs are going to end up with the 1 seed, because I think the Bills are going to lose this weekend. I will say the Chiefs and the Bengals. I will pick Cincinnati, because the Chiefs are just it's hell for the Chiefs playing that team.
Wow. All right. Tell them about Stacking the Box, baby.
Yeah. You can check it out every Tuesday at noon Eastern, live on YouTube. You can also just get it wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, all the rest of it. Of course, iTunes. Check out the Stacking the Box column every Monday morning. Goes up 6 o'clock Eastern at Fanside. And I also tweet it out every week. Quarterback rankings up today, picks tomorrow, power rankings yesterday. Follow me on Twitter. You'll find it all. It's all out there. And hopefully you enjoy the playoff coverage as we're bearing down. Only a couple more weeks. And then we knock out the weak sisters of the league, so to speak.
Amen. And follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, as always, you're a stud. Enjoy the football. We'll catch up next week, my friend.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Take care.
You got it. There you go. 30% off right now. All the wraps right now. Red light therapy is game-changing, life-changing, life-altering. If you're dealing with constant pain from an old surgery, an old injury, and you want to get some relief, try red light therapy for any of those joints. It doesn't matter if it's your shoulders, your elbows, your knees, your ankles, sore feet from walking a lot, neck, back. We've got it all. We've got a wrap for everything. For the ladies, we've got one for the crow's feet too. One for your face. Red light therapy will help get rid of scars, get rid of crow's feet, all kinds of stuff. Red light therapy is absolutely amazing. Go to redrecover.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.